Welcome to 99th Monkey Liberty News for Thursday, December 12th, 2013. Our first article of the day harks back to some of the Bitcoin information that I have been putting out in the past. I'm really not convinced either way. David Icke, will digital currency replace the US dollar? Wall Street strategy to make Bitcoin the global currency? And there is a question mark there. And it's a tough call. It's a really tough call. I guess I'm leaning toward thinking that it is a trap. But, the internet was intended to be a trap for us, and we have turned that around and used it against those who were planning to trap us, to spread information about liberty and to expose corruption. So, as with so many things, if you're considering getting into Bitcoin, staying in Bitcoin, whatever, developing more information, more knowledge about Bitcoin in your own mind, as with so many of these issues, I really believe that information has become so convoluted and so manipulated that in order to get through these times, we need, first of all, a relationship with God and the ability to hear from Him, and then to tap into our relationship with Him and have direction from Him, some kind of an objective standard of how we live. And certainly the Ten Commandments, common law, the Bible offer that kind of an objective standard. But it's not just an external standard, it's also an internal compass. God said that He would write His word on our hearts, and He said that we would hear His voice within us, a voice within us saying, "This is the way, walk in it." So we can depend on Him for guidance. And honestly, as I said, in these times, that seems to me the only rational course is to look to God for guidance because of the difficulty sometimes in sorting through all of the information that is thrown at us, sometimes by sources we trust. Often they're well-meaning, but I know I myself have been misled about things. So it's really crucial for all of us to think for ourselves and process information for ourselves. And in putting this video out, and it's been about a year since I started to do a weekday daily news video, my great hope is just to reach out into the infosphere and snatch out little pieces that people might find helpful in putting together some kind of at least semi-accurate picture of what is going on in the world today and how we might respond to it. Here from Zero Hedge is a piece of that picture. Is your job about to be outsourced by a computer? The probability is 47%. So not only are jobs being shipped overseas, the manufacturing jobs, some of the jobs that require actual physical work, but the mental work is going to be done by computers. So things are changing. I know a lot of younger people have a desire to get back to the land. A lot of us, even who aren't so young, have a desire to live off the grid and to raise our own food and to have our own 3D printer and then to spend the winters writing books and inventing things. I think that is probably the ideal lifestyle, and that's the lifestyle that Thomas Jefferson envisioned for the people of America. I don't think he knew about 3D printers, though. Here is another article on technocracy. This is from Beyond the Mainstream. Freakishly realistic telemarketing robots are denying their robots. I think I've talked to some of these. I really do. I believe I have been in online chats, with the investing houses and different places. That little online window will open up. And I have actually asked, are you a real person? Because of course they always have a name. And the answer given me was, yes, I am a real person, but I did not feel confident that that was the case. And, my gut was right. They probably were a robot. And of course, robots can talk now. So it's very difficult to know when we're dealing with a real person. I think we're all going to start maybe throwing our phones away and getting together for dinner or drinks or parties. How awesome is that? I'm getting a little tired of the virtual world, and I don't think that I'm alone in that. So, of course, I'm not saying there's not a place for this. This can serve people, but it's really, and to be honest, the robots are probably better conversationalists than a lot of telemarketers that we've talked to. But honestly, I prefer flesh and blood people over robots in general. Here from the Washington Free Beacon, Feds spend $224,250 to change how kids order food. NIH grant awarded for restaurant-based intervention. Wow. I don't think I will even comment on that, except that this does spark my memory that Max Kaiser is really pushing Start Join for crowdfunding of good ideas that you and I might have. And if you're not already following Start Join on Twitter or Facebook, this might be a good time to begin to do that. Here is an article, Monsanto, the TPP, and Global Food Dominance. Al Jazeera, Cross-Cultural Understanding. Opinion Editorials, December 2013. Now, this covers a lot of ground, but really a lot of it has to do with food. And I'm going to read the first couple paragraphs. Control oil and you control nations, said U.S. Secretary of State Henry Kissinger in the 1970s. Control food and you control the people. Global food control has nearly been achieved by reducing seed diversity with GMO seeds that are distributed by only a few transnational corporations. But this agenda has been implemented at grave cost to our health. And if the Trans-Pacific Partnership passes, control over not just our food, but our health, our environment, and our financial system will be in the hands of transnational national corporations. And that is the very thing that we do not want. And as I mentioned, a desire to get off the grid and to raise our own food, that is going in the exact opposite direction of where they are trying to drag us, kicking and screaming with the TPP and with GMOs and the rest. So, interesting article here, can help shed some light on those subjects. And another article having to do with food. This is from Blacklisted News, and they drew this article from The Ecologist. Deformities, sickness, and livestock deaths, the real cost of GM animal feed. And, the way people feel about animals in our culture, this might perk the ears of some people who you typically have difficulty communicating with about the New World Order. And I think this is one that I think I'll post on Facebook, because this reality applies to all of us and threatens all of us. and our future and the future of life on Earth, really. So we got to stop that, right? Shifting into another subject, RT, let us spy. NSA chief pleads with Senate to keep surveillance programs. So, you know, they're having to answer some questions about what they've been doing. I hope that we're able to keep the pressure up and demand change. This is our country. We are supposed to be a people that are governed of the people, by the people, and for the people. And it's time for us to make our voices heard, I think, or forever keep silent. Imposed externally. Here from the Ron Paul Institute. This is an older article, but I just learned of it yesterday. New House resolution calls for declassifying secret portion of the 9/11 report. And I think that could be helpful. Again, every place there's a chink in the wall where we have an opportunity to chip away at tyranny and chip away at deception and chip away at the New World Order. Let's do it, okay? And you know, anytime there's an opening like this, if we can let our representatives and senators know that, hey, we do want the secret portion of the 9/11 report declassified. We know you're lying to us. Come clean. And here from Karen Hudis is update on constitutional crisis. And I think that she is trying to do the right thing. What she writes is always very dense. And, you know, she's a lawyer, and it's not always easy to wade through all of her information. But the update is that by accounts, things are happening. And governors are becoming interested in what she has to say and write. And she has a tremendous amount of knowledge, and she's well armed with facts. So here she is certainly a person who is chipping away at the walls of tyranny and deception that have held our country in prison, really, for some time. And I'm getting into some better news here, some happier news. Trees communicate with one another, connected by fungi. And this says that this episode is temporarily unavailable. And please try again. But I'll look for another link and hope that this video becomes available again. I'm thinking that it's possible that I just my flash crashed or something like that. But certainly it makes sense, and I know I've heard information about how the singing of the birds causes the pores on the leaves to open so that the trees can absorb the nourishment, the minerals that are left there by the dew, in the dew. And nature is filled with miracles, and it has been, everything has been designed by the master designer, the master engineer. And when we begin to comprehend just the wonders and the intricacies of how God has created everything that we see around us in nature, I think it affirms hope in God and a hope for the future, that God is not going to allow us and everything that He has created to be trampled. And this is not so much good news as it is entertaining. Guest post on Zero Hedge, May the Odds Be Ever in Your Favor, Part 2, Hope and Defiance. And this is kind of a summary commentary on the new Hunger Games movie that is out, that's been out in theaters for a few weeks. Personally, I am a fan. I know that Alex Jones has seen this movie as a way to provoke people to rebel, and then be placed back into collectivism. But the reality is, what these people are experiencing at the beginning of the story is collectivism. So hopefully, there's so many cues in the films. Everything's gray in the outlying districts. There's very much a feel of how we used to picture communist Russia in the USSR during the Cold War. And they're sending that message, I believe, that what has happened in the Hunger Games is a result of collectivism. And as I said, I'm a fan, so I'm prejudiced. But if you have an interest in the movie, in the books, you might enjoy reading this article. And certainly, in my way of thinking, the books are excellent. People love to say, oh, they're junior high level. They were written for junior high girls. But it's a good plot. I believe it's a complex plot. And Big Lebowski said, a lot of ins, a lot of outs. And it's entertaining and it's meaningful. So how often do we come across that today? Well, maybe kind of often, but certainly this is an example. And Amber Lyon tweeted this YouTube video. One giant mob, the love mob, December 14th, 2013. And it sounds trite, but hey, I just have to say it. Love is the answer. God is love. And David Icke and pretty much all the leading liberty guys agree, certainly Alex Jones, agree that the way to overcome evil and darkness is with love. We don't fight fire with fire. We don't fall to the level of evil and treachery that our enemies fight on. We fight in the heavenlies. We release love and peace and joy, and God is present with us. The Bible says that God himself is present in the praises of his people. So if we're speaking words of love and we're praising and we're thanking, it changes the atmosphere because God is present. So with that rather joyful note, thank you for tuning in for today's 99th Monkey Liberty News. And yes, you might prepare yourselves for things to get a tiny bit schmaltzy as we approach the Christmas season. But, it's real. It's not schmaltzy because the joy of the Lord is our strength. And being joyful and focusing on good things really does serve to help bring about change. And weeping may endure for a night, but joy comes in the morning. Hoping that you will love one another, take care, and insist on liberty.